History will always repeat itself if you don't learn the lesson. You cannot master yourself if you don't understand the lesson. The way women approach life is why women make a lifetime of mistakes. And the thing about life is you're never going to escape mistakes, right? We're not perfect. But the mistakes you make is a result of your lack of understanding of why you do the things you do, why you're getting the results, right? It's not about perfection. It's about understanding. It's about living. It's about creating a desirable life, mastering yourself. But you cannot do any of that if you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand your environment, if you don't understand people, if you don't understand the world. You're never going to master yourself. Because in your mind, what is the measurement? What is the scale of measurement? Right? You can think you're perfect and mastered, but how do you show up in the world? How does the world perceive you? Right? I talk about this in my Glamour Magic group sessions, which I will the final one for the year starts on December 6th. Right? There's two sessions in the group session. It's one on the 6th and one on the 12th or the 13th, I believe the next Saturday is. How are you perceived in the world? Right? How are you showing up in the world? That is your scale of measurement. That's how you know if you're mastering yourself or not. Whatever you got from the lesson, you have to take those skills and tools and you use them in the world. That's the purpose of experience. But see, women don't want to experience life. Women want a guarantee. This is why women participate in things that give them a guarantee and they excel in it. So you excel in work and school, which are controlled environments, which guarantee a certain result. You get a promotion, you get a raise, you get a degree, you graduate. Life doesn't have a definite result. You have to create that. And that's where women get stuck. That's why many of you repeat the same mistakes over and over again. It's not because you're stupid, right? It's because you don't understand why you ended up in the situation you ended up in, and you keep repeating the same lesson. The purpose of lessons is to prepare us for our journey. We cannot avoid them, but that's what women want to do. Women want to interfere in others' experiences, and they want people to interfere in theirs. Women want to be treated like children, where we're guarded and protected from mistakes, from falling, from failure. How are you going to get the lessons if you don't have the experiences? Right? So, this idea that talking about men means you're male-centered or pick-me is proof that women don't understand the purpose of lessons. Talking about men is to understand them, right? So when I hear women say, oh, she's a male-centered and she's a pick-me, because all I do is talk about men, or all other women do who talk about women's behaviors talk about men. A lot of our work, we have to talk about men because men are on the earth and we deal with men. And most women are male-centered. In order to keep yourself from having the same poor experiences, you have to understand why you are experiencing what you are experiencing. The only way to understand it is to talk about it. Decentering men does not mean never talk about them again because you have so much more important things to do that you're never going to talk about men again. That's absolutely ridiculous and it's immature. Talking about men doesn't make you male-centered or pick me. Doing dumb shit for the male gaze is make you male centered and a pick me. Understanding male behavior, understanding why you respond to men in the ways that you do, will prevent you from having baby number 6. This is how women end up with 9 kids from 5 men, because they don't understand the results from, they don't understand why they are doing what they're doing, why they're being affected in the way that they're affected. They don't understand it. They can't connect it. So they keep going to the same, making the same results. They keep creating the same results because women like to face life by burying their heads in the sand. Many of you don't want to talk about your experiences. You don't want to talk about the things that happen to you, your lessons. You don't want to talk about that. You want to act like it's not happening. Or you want to escape to some type of utopia. Well, if I just find a good man, then I won't have these experiences. A man is a man is a man. The male nature is what it is. If you understand it, you can create a desirable life for yourself. But what women want is to either ignore the issue, ignore the lesson, or other people must change. So men are bad and they must do something different. But that's how women end up giving their power away. That's why most of you never really understand why you get the results that you get in life. A part of self-mastery is understanding how you relate to men. Because if you understand men how they affect you and why you respond the ways that you do to them, you can control your behavior. Because you'll say, oh, nah, when a man does that, I do this. So now I understand that about myself. That's not being male-centered. That's understanding human behavior. That's understanding yourself. Men fucking study us. Men study us as soon as they realize that their dick stands up for us. They study our emotions. They study what makes us tick. They study everything. Men know women better than women know themselves. But women think in order to decenter men, you just have to ignore them or never talk about them again. That's why y'all end up in the situations you end up in with men. Rinse and fucking repeat. Because women think if they develop this, well, I'm too good to talk about men, or I ain't no pick me. Most of you are. You're running from your problems. That's why a lot of you end up in an asshole full of debt, because you don't pay attention to the little debt. You just ignore it and hope it goes away. Or you hope that somebody like Richard Gere picks you up from the side of the road and lets you drive his sports car, and then he's going to pay all your bills. A lot of you think life is going to be like Pretty Woman for you. So you ignore the little debt, and then you end up in a bunch of debt that you cannot get out of. This is how women respond to life. You don't want to deal with your problems, right? Men cause women a lot of problems. But instead of talking about men and trying to understand how they behave, you want to act like, well, I don't have to talk about them because I'm too good. You are the bitches that get played because you think you're smarter than men. You think you're too good to understand them. Men don't ever think they're too good to understand women. They study us. They dissect us. And that's why they control women. How do you understand yourself if you don't have a standard of measurement? See, it's easy to watch people online. It's easy to read a book. It's easy to do things that doesn't require you to go out in the world and test it in real time. That's why a lot of women don't have any social skills. A lot of women are socially awkward because you're just listening to people tell you things. What women want is to be told what to do and how to do it. That's why y'all thrive in controlled environments like school and work, because it's structured. Social skills requires you to go outside and try things you've never tried before. It requires you to go outside and fail. It requires you to be embarrassed. All of the things that women don't want to experience. Life requires you to do that. How do you know where you stand if you don't even interact with people? So you think you're just going to ignore men until you master yourself and then you're going to go out in the world and deal with them? That's insane. Nothing works that way. You have to have experiences. You have to understand why you do the things you do. You have to understand the opposition. You have to understand your predator. You have to understand men. You have to understand the world. That's how you master yourself, because you're able to say, I'm going to be this way in this environment. I'm going to be that way in that environment. That's how people learn how to maneuver through the world. This is why men are more worldly than women, because men don't spend their lives in institutions of learning. Women do. That's why you have a woman with a fucking PhD and she get played by the guy with a fucking GED. I started working on myself in my 20s, right? And I wasn't online. Like, my spiritual mother wasn't on the internet. My elders wasn't on. I wasn't going on YouTube and watching people and learning from them that way. I was doing this in real time. I was in the world interacting people with in real time, understanding why people respond to me, how I show up in the world. This was done in real time. I didn't pick up my mobile device and watch people and say, oh, okay, that's what they said. All right, I'm going to go do that. That's why a lot of you don't really know how to maneuver in the world, because you're just watching people on the internet. You're just listening to a bunch of talking heads, including me, and then you don't really understand it, and you're just going out in the world and you're saying, well, this is what Lilith said to do. That doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. This is why I have spaces where women can come in and talk to me so that things can make sense for them. And then you got to go out in the world and see what works and what doesn't work. How do you know how you're going to be if you avoid everything? The dumbest thing, that's one of the dumbest things women say. You talk about men a lot, you're still male-centered. No, I talk about men because most women are male-centered, and most women don't understand why they do what they do, because they don't understand themselves and how they respond to men, because they don't understand men. So you have to talk about men. Men have to be a part of the conversation. You think men ain't talking about women? You think men ain't talking about how to play women, how to get over on women? You don't think they understand your personality? Women, most of you are the same. You do the same shit. That's why it's so easy for men to play you. And then you think if you hide, or if you become celibate, or you become abstinent, that you're going to get over everything. No, it's easy to not do things. It's easy to not sleep with men, not date men, ignore men, act like you're too good to talk about them. It's easy to do that. But put yourself in a position where you have to deal with what's going on in front of you. You won't know what to do because you've never experienced. You're not doing it. Life requires active participation, not ignoring it or acting like or acting like it will go away if I ignore it. That's not how life works. That's how developmentally arrested people act. Well, I'm just going to ignore it, and then hopefully it'll go away. And that's why y'all keep getting played. This is why men control you, and you can't control your own emotions, because you don't understand why you do the things you do, because you don't use a standard of measurement. You don't go out in the world and talk to people and deal with people and understand why they respond to you. I know why people say the things they say to me. I know why people respond to me in the ways that they do. I've been studying people for years. That's why I'm so good at what I do. Not because I hide in life. Right? I don't live on the internet. I live in the world. And I got to learn how to maneuver in the world. And the only way to do that is to have experiences. Life requires active participation. It requires experience. It requires you to learn. It requires you to fail. It requires you to try again. Acting like something doesn't exist, acting like you're too good to address it, acting like it's going to go away, is why many of you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, especially with men. Many women are plagued by the bullshit men carry on with. So we have to talk about men. That has to be something that comes up. All y'all always talking about you in therapy and all these things. You don't understand why you got to talk about men? Things have to be addressed so that you can understand why things happen to you. Why things happen. They're studying you. We're all being studied. Right? That's why they have focus groups. That's why certain groups of people are in certain neighborhoods. And we're all being studied, dissected, poked, and prodded. But women think they're male-centered if they study men, if they understand men. It's just another way to make women feel stupid for, the feelings they have for men, or the experience they have with men. And the truth is, a lot of women want to have experience with men. Some of you want to get married, some of you want to do these things. Why don't you want to understand men? Why shouldn't you understand men? But the thing is, a lot of you, even those of you that want to get married or want to be with men, you don't want to know the sides about men you don't like. So you think you're going to just ignore it. And it's not all men. And that's why most people, the 85%, deaf, dumb, and blind, possibly more. That's why many people are in the situations that they're in, because you don't want to understand what is happening around you and to you.